So an alternative to the balance suspension arm holder is the Spider 2 patient positioning device. In this particular case, I've got a patient here who's been prepped and draped. This is the left shoulder, and we've got the Spider 2 attached to the contralateral side of the bed. It attaches to the side of the bed utilizing universal rail clamps, which is nice because it can go on any bed you'd like. And in this particular case, I've got the positioner at about the level of the patient's knees. It can be moved up or down, all the way up to the hip if you like, so it's clearly surgeon preference at that point. An alternative is this device can actually be attached on the same side of the surgeon, and that's just simply surgeon preference. At this point, we've got the arm in a stockinette, and we'll go ahead and get the articulating arm of the Spider 2 draped out. So the next step is we'll take this sterile piggyback connector and we'll attach this to the articulating arm. And the key with all of these connectors is that once these connectors go into their mate, these blue locking rings need to be in the open position so that the next device can be connected to it. And once you've connected the device, then you can actually put the locking ring in place so that the trigger no longer can fire. So this is unconnected in the open position, just as the receiving end of this is in the open position. So we'll take this sterile piggyback connector and we'll put it in here, and it has to get a good click. At this point, we'll leave this in the open position until we put the sterile drape over the top. The sterile drape, the light blue end is positioned towards the surgeon's chest, and there's actually a fold here where the hands go. And the key thing with this is that there is a sticker inside here with two arrows. The two arrows are what define where your articulating arm with the piggyback connector go through. So we'll go ahead and do that right now. At this point, I'll have the nurse grab at the bottom and pull. And remember, the sterile piggyback connector is sterile at this point, so we can pull this through here. And this is the point where we can pull that blue locking ring toward me, towards the trigger, so now the trigger can no longer be deployed. And this is firmly attached. The second thing is make sure the second trigger is down, which it is, so that we can now attach into the receiving end of this piggyback connector. The next step in this is we'll connect the traction accessory through a similar connecting piece, this post, will then go into here. Once that's clicked into place, that blue locking ring is then placed here. The next step is to take the T-bar connector, and this T-bar connector can be done in two ways. It can either be placed onto the patient and then connected to the traction accessory, or it can be placed on the traction accessory first, the locking ring put into place so that the trigger cannot be deployed, so it's on in a stable position, and then this is brought to the patient's forearm. Now in doing that, you need to make adjustments to the articulating arm, and that's done by this foot pedal down here on the floor. The nice thing about this device is it's battery operated, so that you don't need to rely on any air compression of any kind. And in essence, the only thing you have to make sure to do is you have to have a good firm grip on the articulating arm before you touch the pedal with your foot. So we'll go ahead and do that. And we'll bring this into position, and then let go of the pedal before you let go of the arm. At this point, you'll need to make some minor adjustments, and in essence what you're doing is putting the forearm onto the T-bar with the thumb next to the index finger so that the hand wraps around the bar and the forearm goes down, the T-bar goes down the forearm, and then the straps will go around. So we'll go ahead and do that right now. The next step is to place this strap over the metacarpals. And then these forearm straps are gently wrapped around the forearm. Finally, a self-adhering elastic bandage is then utilized, and we'll go ahead and wrap that gently over the top. Another nice feature about this is that once this is done, is this clamp here can actually be unhooked, and you can rotate the humerus. And you can see here how we're making rotations here with the humerus. The other nice feature is up here, once you get the humerus in a position that you like, you can clamp this, and now both your hands are free so that you can continue to work with the humerus in that position. We can take one of these adhesive straps and place it around the interface of the sterile sleeve. And the idea here is just to make sure that this doesn't move to maintain sterility. And you need to make sure that when you do this, not to disrupt the locking ring underneath the trigger. So our trigger is stable here, and our trigger is stable here, and our trigger is stable here, all with these locking rings. So the traction accessory here is a nice feature for the Spyder 2 because it has a spring mechanism inside of this to allow for a little bit of play within the arm. The reason that's a nice feature is because this locking ring can be unhooked, and the trigger can be deployed, and you can detach the arm and actually go ahead and do a load and shift and move the arm around in various directions. And then you can go ahead and actually reattach this, and you can see the spring device gives you a little bit of play so that it's not so rigid. Relock the locking ring, and then we can actually then adjust with more or less tension on the traction accessory here, and it actually gives you a readout in pounds how much traction you've got on the arm. An alternative to using the foot pedal to activate the articulating arm of the Spyder 2 is to use the switch drape. And basically what that is a sterile drape that has an electronic wire or switcher on that's connected to the drape itself. The nice thing about this is the drape is in essence placed on the articulating arm, in which the light blue portion of the drape is again placed towards the surgeon's chest. The surgeon takes his or her hands, and puts it inside and brings this down over the articulating arm. And remember that the two arrows here again go around the articulating arm, just like in the usual drape that we use. So this drape is then deployed out down the articulating arm, and as it's fully deployed, you can see that the electronic switch is now in place, and this switch, when pressed, releases the articulating arm so that adjustments can be made to the patient's arm and the T-bar device that it's holding. Once it's released, the arm then locks again. The nice feature about this particular device is that if you're not happy with having this next to the connector, you can actually move this by taking this off, and there's enough play that this can actually be stuck right to the patient's arm. So in essence, we've got this hooked up like so, and I can press the button electronically here, which connects to the actual Spider 2, and I can make my adjustments, release, and then the articulating arm locks, and then I can let go and the arm stays in place.